Hello and welcome back to another video of managing your servers or how to manage your server tutorials. So the things we're going to be talking about today is server roles, your Dhcp server, and your organizational unit, and how to manage the users in your organizational unit and groups. So first steps we're going to be talking about is managing your server roles. So first up is opening up your server manager in your Windows 2008 release number 2. And then click on add roles or roles. Before you begin, you can read the menu. I recommend reading the menu for tips, or if you're very confused, or if you're starting out on managing your server, if you're a first timer or want to have experience, you can always read the menu for knowing the ins and outs or the description of the server. So click next. Then you're gonna see a list of roles that you can put on your server or manage your server too. So let's say for this tutorial, we're gonna click file server for obviously your file system, so you can manage your data on it, and then the Dhcp server for your computers, so they can have, let's say, dynamic IP addresses for easy access, and then printers and fax machines or anything like that. So check these boxes and then read all the descriptions about it, then click next. And then there are gonna be tons of descriptions about it, menus, so I recommend just clicking next. But for starters and for working experience, so you can have experiences about it and learn more about the server, you can read them to know the ins and outs of the servers. And then so keep hitting next until you reach the point where it says to install. So double check your roles, know if you have clicked the roles that you want or the roles that are necessary to your network or your domain, and then wait for the installation and then click next and then close the program, and that's it. So the second thing we're going to be talking about for managing your server is your Dhcp server. So what is a Dhcp or Dhcp? So a Dhcp stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, where your server automatically gives an IP address or addressees to your existing workstation or your computer or any devices that are connected to your server in a network. The first step in managing your Dhcp server is going to your start menu, then clicking administrative tools, then Dhcp. So a menu will pop up that will list the scopes that you already have or is already inputted in your Dhcp server. So right click the existing scope, delete it, because for this tutorial we're just gonna expand your knowledge about scopes and the IP addresses that your workstation or your fresh new workstation or your network will be using. So, and then right click the IPv4, create a new scope, input in your name or the name of your scope. So for this tutorial, let's say employees, because we're gonna incorporate or integrate the existing workstations in your network or printers devices to the scope. So type in employee, click next, and then you will see a menu that has start IP address and then end IP address. So what this basically means is that you can input in or type in the number of your workstations in your existing network. So let's say your server's IP address is 192.168.1.100. So the first rule in creating your network is never match up any IP addresses, because every device or every server and every computer or workstation in your network must have a unique IP address. So the IP address of your server is 192.168.1.100. So the starting point of your IP address will be 192.168.1.101. And then let's say you have 20 workstations in your network. So the end IP address is 192.168.1.120. You can input 192.168.1.110 if you only have 10 workstations, so be sure to do the math for that. And then click next, and then choose the activate your new scope, and then you're done. Furthermore, the next thing we're going to be talking about for your server management tutorial is your organizational unit and users, or how to manage your users in an organizational unit. So the first thing you're going to do is go to your start menu, click your administrative tools, and then click your Active Directory users and computers. And then a menu will pop out that will list your domain name, and then under the domain name is the default organizational units. So for this video we're gonna teach you how to create your very own organizational unit and how to manage your users in them. So right click your domain name, click new, and then click organizational unit. So this will create a new organizational unit for you to manage your users. So a menu will pop up that will require your domain or your organizational unit name. So let's say you're gonna make an organizational unit for your employees, or your users, the workstations that you will integrate in your network. So first type in employees and then click next, and then you have created the employees. You will see it in the lists on the left side hand of your server manager or your Active Directory users and computers. And then the second step is to go to the users organizational unit, and you will see a list of default users and groups that you can allocate your users or the new users that you will integrate in your network. So the first thing is we have to create the user for your administration, the admin of your server. So go to the top side of the list of the users, right click the administrator, click copy. This basically tells the administrator or the default user to create a new administrator or change the default settings on the administrator user or the admin. So this will pop up a menu that will require you to specify the details. So let's say the first name of your admin, the last name, and then the login name of your administrative or your admin user. So click next, and then it will ask you for a login password. So input in your password, any password, but I will request that you input a password, a strong password for that matter, and then click the buttons that says password never expires, and the user or the admin or the workstation owner can never change the password. Then click next. So go to the top side of the list of default groups and users, and then right click the administrator that you have created or that you have specified the details, and then click the move button, and then this will pop up a menu that will list all of the organizational units that you have created or the default ones. So you have created the employees organizational unit, so you have to move it there, then next, and then the next step we're going to be tackling is creating your user or specifying a new user, not an administrator but a client or a user or workstation owner that can be in the same organizational unit as the admin. So go to your employees organizational unit, right click, click new, and then user. This basically makes the user of your workstation available in the organizational unit and will be organized in a hierarchical fashion. So create your user, type in the necessary details, the first name, the last name, the login name, then click next. And then the same thing as the admin. Create a password, choose the button that says the password never expires, and the user can never change the password. So click next, and you're done. So after you've done all of that, you can properly have the experience on creating your very own network or your very own hierarchical network for your domain. So you can specify different details for that. You can right click the domain name, create new organizational units, let's say for your employees, for your clients, for the servers, for the printers, for the fax machines and any sort of devices that are integrated in your network. So key takeaways for this video is try to read the descriptions and details on how to manage your system, because reading this simply gives you the background and the knowledge on how to properly manage your servers, because the reason for this is to give you experience and different nuances for how to manage different servers, or let's say you're gonna make more and more complex and integrated servers and networks in your career. So by reading all of these details will give you the necessary knowledge and work experience for the next job and the next one. So the next takeaway we're going to be talking about is organizational unit. So remember, an organizational unit is just a container for the objects of your network. So computers, workstations, devices, or the personnel in your network, and any other objects that might be in the hierarchical domain or the hierarchical organizational units that you can make for an elaborate and detailed network and domain hierarchy. So let's say you've created a new domain, so you can right click it again and create a new organizational unit, so you can properly create a hierarchical situation where objects and workstations, computers, devices, people will be properly inputted in the hierarchy and properly organized. So that is all. Thank you for watching.